All right, good morning, party people. It is Monday. It's my day off, so I can't keep them straight. So today we are back in Apple, also known as Luke, to try and avoid the censorship on TikTok. I use the word Apple to represent the New Testament. They don't like it when I mention Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Okay, so for our daily reading today, on November 27th, we did Luke chapters 21, 22, 1 Corinthians chapters 11, 12, Revelation 7, 8, Psalms 105, 106, and Proverbs number 25. Okay, so that's where we're at. So we are back with Jesus. Very exciting, a lot of red. But, I like to give you I always like to show you where we're at in time because it's people that aren't familiar with the Bible. I think it helps. At least it helped me. That's why the study Bible is so great. So we are back with Jesus's time. So you remember now, those of you that are following me, we're in Second Chronicles and Isaiah, right, for our other studies as we're reading along. So I divide the Bible up into 3 sections: Old Testament, prophetic books, and New Testament. So it's kind of cool how they're all kind of lining up here. So in Second Chronicles, here's my little map. In Second Chronicles, we're following the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. The Southern Kingdom, of course, is the one that's the kings of Judah, and those are the legitimate heirs. And these are the wicked, very wicked. These guys have their own issues, but these guys are have broken away, and so the kingdom has been separated, right? So we've got a Northern Kingdom and a Southern Kingdom. They're all the 12 tribes of Israel, but they're separated. So you see here in First and Second Chronicles, we're studying how the Northern Kingdom is about to fall, and this shows where the Southern Kingdom still is reigning. And then you see they get taken over by Babylon. Raises itself up under Assyria and takes over, and they take a lot of the Jews into captivity, right? And so First and Second Chronicles, as I mentioned, were written by the documentation was gathered together. I can't see if you can see it up here, by Ezra right here. So he was leading the people from Babylonian captivity back to Israel to rebuild the temple and rebuild the city. So he gathered together all the documents of First and Second Chronicles and put together those books to encourage and to help the people rebuild. Now, during this time, there have always been Jews there, right? All these different excursions to come and remove people from the land. There was always people that remained in the land. That's just the way it always was. That was God's promise, that there was always a remnant in the land of Israel, of the Jewish people. But there was huge portions of the population that were removed by various wars and conquering kingdoms, Assyria, Babylon, things like that. And then, of course, by intermarriage. And so during the time of Ezra, there was a huge group of them that went back to restore and rebuild the city because it had fallen into decay, but there were still Jews there. So now we are come all the way to the present time, and you see here in this same thing, you see down here at the very bottom. So all the way back here, you're seeing, this is Italy down here, represented by the kingdoms here. These are all different areas of the map and the different kingdoms that are rising. So here, all the way back here, during the time of the when both kingdoms were still going at each other up here, northern and southern Israel kingdoms, you see the rise of the early Roman state, right? So all the way through. And so what you're seeing right now is they came down from Italy, and Rome, like we know, historically encompassed a huge area of land, and Israel came under their authority. And so that's what we're seeing here is during Jesus's time, Rome had come out from Italy and had taken over huge portions of the known world at that time, and Jerusalem was now under their authority. But Rome allowed the Jews to maintain a lot of their own civil law and their own, people in charge. So Herod was one of them. Herod the Great. He was despised by a lot of the Jews because he was mixed. He was not a pure lineage, and there was a lot of corruption, of course, like there is in any government. And of course, we still had the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Sanhedrin. So they were still functioning under their own laws. That's why you see this dichotomy when you're reading the New Testament and the story of Jesus. You're seeing Roman emperors involved. You're seeing Jewish leaders involved. You're seeing Jewish religious leaders involved because they were under an occupation, but Rome allowed them to function within their own way under that occupation, but they had to maintain allegiance to Rome, right, to the emperor. So there was this is one reason there was all this stuff going on about Jesus, because they wanted him to be the one, the Messiah, to rise up and to overthrow Rome, right? To get rid of Rome and to take over and be their king. And that was not his role, right? So you see a fine line that the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and all the religious leaders had to walk. They had to walk this fine line of allowing their people freedom and religious to follow their religious, like all these messiahs would come up all the time. That was not illegal. Jesus was condemned because he claimed to be God, according to their law. But you see a lot of this stuff rise up, and there's this dichotomy where the Jewish leaders were always trying to maintain control so that they could maintain their own control, right? If they controlled the people, then they could maintain their control under Rome, right? So, of course, that would enrich them. So there was all kinds of political crap going on. So what we see here, so I just want to give you that breakdown because I'm not sure if I've ever given you that, and of course that's taken up way too much time. But so here we are, Jesus under Roman occupation, of course, and he's with his disciples, and we're in chapter 21. Okay, so verse 1, and he, Jesus, looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury, and he also saw a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. So he said, truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all, for all these out of their abundance have put in offerings for God, but she out of her poverty put in all the livelihood that she had. Then as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and donations, he said, these things which you see, the days will come in which not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. So at the very beginning, when he's talking about the widow's mite, just like always, there are people that would despise the little tiny bit that she put in, not recognizing what an offering that was, right? So God sees the heart, God sees our condition. So, and it also shows that offerings are important to God, right? And so then as we go down to now, we're going to be getting into the part about the end times. Now, what he's describing here, when eventually the Jews do a revolt. So I think it's in the Catholic Bible, the 1st and 2nd Maccabees. So there's a lot of history that is not in the Protestant Bible, but it talks about the revolt of the Jews under the Roman Empire and how that results in the destruction of the temple. And here Herod, who had been despised, he actually had done a lot of restoration to the temple. The temple had been restored under Ezra and Nehemiah when they took a bunch of the people back from captivity to go back to the land to assist the people that were still there to rebuild the city and the temple. But now you saw Herod come in, and as corrupt as he was, he did major restorations for the temple. And there are outside historical sources that talk about how when others viewed the temple, how ornate and beautiful it was compared to other temples, that they had seen to other gods. So he did a wonderful thing. But now you're starting to see Jesus through the rest of 21 begin to predict the fall of the temple, the fall of Jerusalem, and of course, end times, right? So the natural fall of the temple in Jerusalem right after his passing is going to be a precursor or a taste or a foreshadowing of what's to come, right? All of this stuff is, he's talking about both. Kind of like Isaiah has visions, we're talking about in Isaiah 2, of things that are happening there and that are going to happen to the fall back when he's there, that also refer back to the future end times. Jesus is doing the same thing here, and I'm going to have to do 2 videos for this, but I'm already almost out of time. So it says, so the next section says the signs of the times and the end of the age. So verse 7, so they asked him, Jesus, saying, Teacher, but when will these things be, and what sign will there be when these things are about to take place? And Jesus said, Take heed that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time has drawn near. Therefore do not go after them. But when you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. Then he said to them, Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences. And there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons. You will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, but it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. So he turns from all of these things that are going to be happening on the outside to what is going to be happening to them personally, right? So, and that's also a taste for what's to come for us, for the end time generation. Okay, so I am out of time. So hold tight for number 2. Peace. If you don't see number 2, read your Bible. And I have atrocious connection out here, so sometimes it takes me hours to get my videos uploaded. I live out in the middle of nowhere. All right, so that's why it takes so long. Peace. Read your Bible. Love you. Bye.